Hello, genealogy friends. Sorry, I was a little bit late today. Just gonna hold this here so people showing up can see what we're talking about. My son has somebody who comes to the house to work with him, and she needed to reschedule and move some things around. So she was arriving right when I usually would try to hop on and be live. So she's here and they're settled, and I'm ready to chat with you for a minute about using page protectors for photo storage, which is something that I discovered a couple years ago, and I have not gone back. I think that it's a wonderful solution for people who, well, we can get into it. Okay, so there's a couple people hopping on. I'll give some updates before we get started. Good morning. Ooh, looking a little more tired than I have in the past. Nice to be here. Let me think, what did I want to update? Pages are still not in the shop yet. Keep you posted. We've been getting a ton of people who have been trying to join the Family Tree Notebooks Genealogy Facebook group. I love that group. If you're not in it, you want to be in it. It's great. People in there are so much smarter than I am. But if you're thinking about joining, or if you're one of the people that are in limbo because you've tried to join and I haven't approved you, I have 3 membership questions. They aren't difficult. You really need to answer them, because I have made the mistake of approving people and letting them in, and then it turns out that they're not real people. They're like bots or people who are trying to sell things. And that's been happening a lot lately. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. It's really hard for my end to what happens if you don't answer the genealogy questions is that then I look to see if we have any groups in common. If you're a member of all the other genealogy groups, then I can say, okay, well, this is somebody that I wish they'd answered the questions, but obviously they're interested in genealogy. If my group is your first genealogy group, you haven't answered any of my questions, and I go to stalk you on your profile and you just don't seem to have a lot on there, or your profile is brand new, or all of that could mean that you are a real person who wants to join the group and you just didn't take the time to answer the questions. Or it could also mean that you're not a real person. So there's all these people that are in limbo because I basically have to set aside time to try to stalk them and figure out if they're human. It's such a weird thing. Just answer the questions. If you're going to join the group, just answer the questions. They're not hard. And then I don't know if bots answer questions. I'm going to assume that if you answer the question, then you're a person. Also, the last question is, do you agree to be kind and follow the rules? Which the rules in that group are pretty minimal, I think, compared to other groups. It's basically, keep it related to genealogy and don't be rude. And I've gotten a couple people who say no. And that's the thing. If you don't agree to be kind, I can't let you in. It's Treehouse Club rules. But that always surprises me. I always wish there was a reply button so I could be like, no. It makes me wonder if they misunderstood the question, because if you had somebody over for a party and the only requirement was that they be kind and they were like, I don't want to do that, of course you wouldn't let them in. Anyway, I think it's funny, but it's also like, what is happening here? Okay, let's, we got a bunch of people on. Let's talk about what, oh, hi, Pam. Oh, Ohio. Oh my gosh, I wish I was in Ohio. Sorry, I'm responding to Pam's comment from Asheville, Ohio. We were in Ohio this time last year because we try to get out there to see my husband's family, and fall is my favorite time to visit. And we would be there, but we're not traveling. So, if I could Freaky Friday with you and just pop myself over to Ohio, you could come and enjoy Salt Lake City for a little while. Okay. So we're talking about page protectors for photo storage. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so not all page protectors are equal. Let me show you first what I'm really talking about. So this binder, these are my prop photos. This is how I store them. And you can see I've got them in page protectors. I actually have them double-sided, and I don't recommend that, but we'll talk about that in a minute. This I found is the best way to store my photos and also have access to them. So let's talk about page protectors, because they're not all the same. So a lot of people think about these when they think of page protectors. They think about the ones that are the full page size. And I want to show you what you're looking for. Okay. These are both 8.5 by 11 inch page protectors. They are both, I know this is the one I got from Costco, Avery. See, it says acid-free, archival safe, okay? This over here, I think these are from Amazon. I think somebody bought these for me. Oh, here we go. Acid-free archival quality. That you want them to always say that. At this point, most of them do. The really cheap ones from Target do not. But I want you to look at this. These are both, this is crystal clear, this is Clearview. I don't know if you can tell over the video. This one from Avery is fantastic. These are my page protectors of choice. I adore these ones. These ones from Sea Line, they're okay, but as you get farther away, see how they're a little bit cloudy? They're just not crystal clear. Not quite. There's a little bit of a murkiness. I will use these, but they're not my favorite. I do think these are a little bit thicker, but they aren't my favorite. I actually have both on hand because occasionally when I need to store documents, I will use these instead of these ones, just because I do feel like these have a little bit more heft, and so I feel like they're a little more protection against things being bent. But I really love the Avery ones because I think that they are just super clear. And I use these for large size photos, which I'll show you in a little bit. But if you had a small photo and you put it in this, sorry, it's really hard to show somebody a page protector because it's clear, but if I had a small photo and I put it in here, one, it's kind of a waste of a whole page protector, and two, that photo is going to slide around a lot and it could potentially get damaged and chipped even inside the page protector. It's better to have as close of a fit in a page protector as you can. So I like to use these. These are Ultra Pro Platinum Series. They are meant for trading cards. You can see these pictures. These are going after the baseball card, the sports memorabilia market. That's what these are really sold for. The thing about these, though, is that they are totally acid-free. They have welds. Welds are these things. See these lines? What's happened is the page protector has been melted and created kind of a divider. So this page has 9 dividers. See the welds? Again, I didn't really anticipate how hard it is to show off clear items. You want a page that has welds like this that have been well done versus any page that has any kind of adhesive where this is sticky and it's created glue lines basically. You don't want that. Those will break down over time and those glue lines can get stuck to your photos. Anybody who has one of those put your photo in the plastic sleeve photo albums from the 90s might know what I'm talking about. If you've ever pulled a photo album that's sitting on the shelf down and the oh good Robin, yeah, these are the best, and the photos have slipped down into that glue line and then you've got glue on your photo. I mean, it's just sad. But again, not photo album makers are not always worried about archival storage, but you need to be. Okay, so let's talk about the different sizes. I use this one as often as I can. This is the 9 pocket page. This is the one that's really baseball card sized. Looks like that. Here's an example of a page that's full of that. See, it's good for small photos. Now I want to point out a couple things. One, you don't want to fill these and then tip it upwards. I wouldn't want to flip this over. These are not tight. This is not going to hold your photos in there if you flip this upside down. So once you have these in the pages, you need to keep it flat or you need to keep it right side up. Okay, it's not a magic page protector. It won't just suck your photos in. The other thing is that you can see here and down here, these photos are actually hanging out. That means that this part of the photo isn't protected. So I kind of feel bad because I'm basically showing you something I don't want you to do. But if you're storing for family storage and you really want to make sure the photos are well protected, don't do that. The reason that I have done that on this page is because these are our prop photos. I actually have these stored mostly so that I can take them in and out for shooting photos and things like that. If I had cheap photos that family photos, but maybe something that I wasn't really interested in, I might do that. But basically, this is not a good way to protect your photo, is what I want to say. It's not enough to have most of your photo be inside the acid-free page. You really want the whole thing protected. So a better example is this one. I love using these pages for small tin types. You can see the tin types are completely in the pocket, so nothing's overlapped. Again, you don't want to flip this upside down because the tin types will slide out, but they are totally covered. And tin types are so fragile. All these little, where's one that's chipped? See these scratches and chip? That's all just lifting the photographic image off of the tin plate. It's really, really easy to do that, especially after a long time. The other thing is that, you know, once these are like this, again, these are my prop photos, so I do handle these. I like to get these into photo sleeves, and then I don't touch them. Honestly, once things are scanned, I get these into photo sleeves like this. I put the binders away, and I don't pull them out. It's why I don't have a family binder here to show you. I am very much in the camp of scan it and then store it correctly and don't touch it. Every single time you interact with a photo or a document or something, you run the risk that you're going to damage it. The oils in your hands can damage it. You could accidentally chip something. Things can get left out or get bent. If you don't have to, do not continue to handle your family photos. I mean, you know, of course I have family photos on display. I have things like that. But if you really want your family photos to last a long time, don't play with them. Okay, so that's the 9-page. Let's do the 3-pocket page next. This is the 3-pocket 4x6. I go through a lot of these. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I think these boxes are something like $20 each for 100. So bit of investment, but that's 300 pages right here. And really Ultra Pro is the best. Okay, I go through a lot of these because so many photos are weird sizes, and the 4x6 page tends to really, you know, it's kind of a catch-all. So here we have, see the 3 pockets? It's an awkward layout, but we've got these that are not cabinet cards, but you know, they're almost that size. And then in the back, you can see I have other photos. Here's the other thing, because this is my prop folder or prop binder, I do have my photos back to back. Again, I'm being a bad example. You don't want to do that. Why? Because the photos can actually hurt each other. The dirt, the ink on the back, all of that can cause discoloration and degrade the photo behind it. If you can, then go ahead and, you know, 1 photo per slot, especially so that you can see the writing on the back of any of these photos. That being said, obviously, that means that you're going to pay twice as much. You need twice as many pages. If you're between putting them back to back or not being able to do it at all because you can't afford to have enough pages to give each photo its slot, then yeah, put them back to back and, you know, maybe down the road invest in more pages and then separate them. I think back to back is better than not doing this at all. Okay, so we got the 2-pocket page. These hold 5x7s. This is what they look like with that weld right down the middle. I use these a lot too because I am a collector of cabinet cards. So as you can see, cabinet cards fit really nicely in these pockets. These are other large photos. See here, you can see this different photo type and this ink and this, like all of this really shouldn't be stored together. And again, it's very hard to show you, but the thickness, can I show you? Well, maybe, see, the thickness has created an opening. Oh, look, I just flipped this up and up like that and they dumped out. This is what I'm talking about. These are not sealed in there, so you have to be careful with the pages. I'll put these in a second. Would tissue, both of you, yes, tissue between them would help. If you had to store them back to back, tissue would be an economical way to prevent damage for a while. So that's a really good point. It's also not a permanent solution. Tissue would not be as effective as just giving them their own spot, but yeah, that would help. That would help a lot, especially just for basic dirt, depending on, I have some family photos that I don't know what happened to them, but you receive them and you're like, wow, these are covered in muck. Okay, so this is the standard 8.5 by 11. So you can see I have these photos that look like they should have gone into 5x7s, but they're just a little bit too big. Here's another large photo. I'm glad that this photo's in protector because you see how it's creasing and things at the side. Problem with these is that you do have to be careful, even as they slide around, especially if you've got them double stacked like this. The edges can get bumped. They can get damaged inside the page protector, just sliding around like that. So not ideal, but obviously if you have a photo that doesn't fit in the 5x7, you're going to need to use these ones. In the past, I made the mistake of actually, like, I would add a little bit of tape. This is one of the first time I ever tried to put photos into page protectors. I just bought a big box of these ones and I put all of them in there, and then I tried to tape this shut. Terrible idea. Obviously the acid from the tape basically negated what I was trying to do, and then I ended up having to cut them open, and it was a whole big thing. Don't do that. Just be careful. Here's another example. This one's actually not in my prop binder. This is my parents'. I have this out because I'm doing something with it, but this is another example of, this is how I would actually store them. So you can see, because this is from my family binder, I don't have anything with it. So one final point. Once you have your photos scanned and you have them into folders like this, I know it's really tempting to then write information and put a little note in. The problem is anything that you slip inside this page protector is going to introduce new acids, new dirt, new adhesives. You know, if you throw in a Post-it note, my grandmother did this. She put things in envelopes and page protectors, and then she wrote on Post-it notes and stuck it in there and stuck the Post-it note on the front of the photos. If that had been for a couple of days until we transcribed everything, it would have been fine. What happened is the Post-it note photos sat in a box for about a decade, and it was a bummer. I'd be able to reduce the pocket size by sewing a line with a sewing machine. You probably could. I have limited patience for things like that, and mostly, again, I put my things in binders and then I don't touch them. But I think that, I don't know if you guys can see Glenda's comment that you could reduce the pocket size by sewing a line with a sewing machine. I actually think that's a really creative solution. I'm not sure, you know, depending on the thread, I don't know how, again, how that would affect the acid, because everything that's not plastic affects the acid and the longevity of this for being archival. But that's a very creative short-term solution. I just get them into binders and then I try really hard not to touch them. And I will flip through. Again, you have to remember that these are back to back, which I don't recommend, but I will flip through just so you can see examples of the different photo sizes. I'm being very careful. I won't sweep back and forth. I was tempted to, but sorry, there's no way for me to get the whole thing at once. So many of these are just slightly different sizes. Here's a lot of tin types. This one's a little too tall, but a lot of these photo postcards. Here's one where awkwardly placed, sliding around photos inside of an 8x11. And then beautiful, and part of the reason I collect cabinet cards, I swear, is because they store so beautifully in these pages. All of their photos are a giant pain. Although am I a sucker for wallet-sized tin types. I love them. Okay, if you have postcards with writing on the back, this is another beautiful way to store them so that you can still see the writing. I mean, you could have this out so that your family could flip through them. You just have to know that, you know, things could fall out. Cheryl has asked, could you tape a description on the outside? You definitely could. Sticking stuff on the outside wouldn't affect the photo storage at all. It just means that you would need to be, you know, sort of a permanent home for that photo, which, yeah, most of my photos are, it's not like they're jumping around between page protectors. So I think that that would be a smart solution, especially if you were going to, at some point, share the album, give it away, or if you were worried about, you know, legacy details leaving behind photos where people didn't have a binder full of photos that they just think, I don't know who any of these people are. I mean, this isn't going to happen because of how well documented my entire existence is, but, you know, something happened to me and my kids inherited this album. Can you imagine what a genealogical nightmare that would be? Trying to figure out how I'm related to these 900 random people that I purchased on eBay. It would be much better for me to just have a big note right here. This is not your family. Move on. Maybe a Sharpie label on the outside. Yeah. Or even, I mean, as long as you're being careful, you could even Sharpie on the edges. I mean, just don't, what I'm saying is just don't stick anything in with the photos. So anyway, Ultra Pro, that's my recommendation. They do have other, scrapbooking companies have other pages that are also acid free. You just want to make sure they have that weld that's welded and not glued. But Ultra Pro, because they're such a huge company, I think that they're probably on the more affordable end. And you can get them on Amazon, which I get everything on Amazon. So I hope this was helpful, and I will hopefully be back here. Do you keep the folder binders that so many old photos are in? Yes. That Leslie just asked a question. So I'm assuming, I wish we could all chat. I wish we could all just sit around a table with this stuff spread out in front of us and chat. I'm wondering if you mean the, what do you call them? Like the things that I have one in, sorry, my room's messy. I have one in this box. Dig through these things because I haven't processed this yet. Do you mean this? I'm assuming that you mean this. Like the frame. Is this what you're talking about? And in which case, yes, and I would put this entire thing into a page protector by itself. That's what I would do for things like this. Because again, it's part of the artifact. It has the studio name, and then this one has writing up here that I would want to save. So sorry, I hope that that's your question, Leslie. Again, I wish we were all just having a cup of tea together, but I hope this was helpful. If you have more questions, go ahead and just leave them in the comments when I post this, and I'll try to answer them. Oh, good. Okay, well, you guys have a good rest of your day, and hopefully I will be back on here at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you, guys.